Hello, and welcome to episode 19 of Starside Chat. I'm one of the hosts, Zach Owens, and as always, joining me is Aaron Capo.
Hello!
We have had last week was a big week, and the craziness has sort of extended into this week. A lot has been going on. Destiny 2 Forsaken is out. The Battlefield 5 beta happened over the weekend. The Blackout beta for Black Ops 4 is happening right now. We got a lot to talk about.
Yes.
So I guess we should just jump right into it. Before we get to all of that interesting good stuff, we should talk a little bit about the Anthem info that dropped, I want to say, on the very same day that Forsaken came out, as if they were trying to steal their thunder a little bit.
I have not heard anything about this, so please lay it on me.
Well, so I don't know a whole lot about it. They put like an introduction to like their whole Our World, My Story thing, which is a concept that the overall world is sort of this shared place that you explore, but the story of it is your story basically. So like the world is dynamic and will undergo like huge transformations over time, and there'll be I'm assuming there'll be like seasonal events and things like that. I don't know exactly what they have planned for the future of the game, but like at some point, like you have the story that is in sort of the hub world, and you get to sort of make decisions in that, and you talk to all the different people and everything. But like when you go out and you do missions, that's where sort of the shared space where it's like our world is. And what does it say here? The larger world is shaped by shared dynamic world-scale events, while individual players still have the freedom to make the world their own through personal choices. So this is it's sounding a little bit more like what I wish Destiny was. But yeah, what do you think of this?
It's interesting. Like I assume when they're talking about those dynamic public events, they're talking about those reality storms that we've heard so much about, where like Shaper technology goes crazy. But yeah, it's interesting. Now, so you are locked into this because you have subscribed to EA Access or whatever it's called, right?
Yeah, so I have the Origin Access Premier, whatever it's called. I don't have any idea what it's called. It's something like that. But yeah, so I essentially will be able to download and play like the whatever the digital deluxe version of Anthem is when it comes out.
I'm interested to see how well, I mean, it's very hard to tell a single player story in a shared world, it seems like. Like Destiny has struggled with that a lot.
Yeah, well, the big question, especially if they're like you're sort of having an impact on the world through personal choices, like how do they sort of balance between like allowing you to make meaningful choices, but also respecting the fact that the world is perhaps different depending on which choice a person makes, because it's also a shared world. So
parts of it are shared. I think they made a big deal about what is your walking thing called, like Fort Tarsis?
Yeah,
I think maybe
Fort Tarsis.
That you're never going to see anybody else in. Like that is where you get your missions. It's like the opposite of Destiny, where like you go to the public space to get bounties and whatnot. Fort Tarsis is yours, and you can't have friends in it. You meet your friends when you go on missions. So it could be that Fort Tarsis evolves and changes with the things that happen to you. But I don't know. Yeah, I'm also really interested. I want to see like an entire world map, and I want to know how everything is connected. Or are there multiple worlds? Like how much like Destiny is it? Are there different like, you know, quotation marks, planets that you go to? Not planets.
Well, I don't think there is. I think they confirmed that it's like all one place. Like you're not like planet jumping and like exploring space in this. This is just on one planet.
What I mean by that is like not necessarily planet. I was just using the analogy of planets like with Destiny, but like is there going to be some sort of director kind of thing like from Destiny where you have to select different regions to go to instead of planets? Or is everything interconnected, which would be crazy?
Is it just like one giant open world map, sort of Skyrim like?
Or Division.
Yeah, or Division. That's a good question. And maybe they will release that information at some point. Anthem comes out in February of next year, so they've got time. I'm sure they'll be dropping new details over the course of the rest of this year and into next year.
The only big show left is the Game Awards, so I wonder if they're going to make a big push at the Game Awards.
Yeah, and companies just will drop infos and trailers willy-nilly these days. That Cyberpunk one just sort of came out of nowhere, and
that was crazy.
Everybody loved it, but it was not tied to any sort of show or anything. So
yeah, that's a good point. TBD.
Yeah, TBD. We'll keep our eyes out for more information. Now, what I want you to tell me about is the new Captain Marvel information.
Zach, what do you know about Captain Marvel?
Basically nothing. Brie Larson plays Captain Marvel, and it's a Marvel movie, and that's about it.
So Captain Marvel is a superhero, and I believe that he or she can bequeath their power to somebody else, because she is not the first Captain Marvel. It parallels Green Lantern significantly, I think, because she is like an Air Force pilot, and then she gets selected by, it's a famous actor. Jude Law plays the original Captain Marvel, and he somehow gets word, or maybe he's dying, or no, I don't think he's dying. I think he is dying. I think his powers are killing him, actually, through like radiation or something. He has these gauntlets, I'm pretty sure, what the source of his powers. Also, I am not 100% sure I know anything about this. This is just what I think.
It sounds a little bit like the Infinity Gauntlet.
Well, more like wristbands, actually. But anyway, Brie Larson plays Carol Danvers, and she is like a pilot, and she gets selected by Jude Law, Captain Marvel, to become the next Captain Marvel, who is, I think, on par with, as far as like Thor and Hulk. She's like as powerful. I don't think she's stronger than them.
Well, I think what's his name? The producer, Kevin Feige, said that Captain Marvel's the most powerful hero that they've introduced into the cinematic universe yet.
Interesting. So the big thing about this one is, the reason we're talking about it is because there's been some set photos and they look great, but it's set in the 90s, so you're going to see a de-aged Samuel L. Jackson, which that is one of the pictures, and it looks crazy realistic. Like, de-aging is like so good now. Like, they did it with Iron Man in Civil War, I guess, when he was having to do that hologram.
Yeah.
That looked very real to me.
It was very convincing, I will say, yeah.
So he's going to be in it. A young Coulson is going to be in it, but I don't even know if it's going to be played by Coulson from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And then also Ronan is in it because it's in the past. And Ronan was, of course, the villain from the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Mm-hmm. He is a Kree fanatic. And I want to say that Captain Marvel is revered by the Kree. Like, the Kree are super into Cap. They treat him as a god. And their enemies are the Skrull. And the Skrull are these, like, Green Goblin-looking guys who can transform. And they have, like, shape-shifting technology. Not technology, it's just, like, in them. Magic, sort of. They look insane, because they always have these bright purple costumes on. But, yeah, I don't know a ton about it. I've just, like, done some Wikipedia research because I was interested after Infinity War happened. But these set photos look great, and Brie Larson is awesome. And,
yeah, I was gonna say I am a big fan of Brie Larson. Like I think the first movie I saw her in was Short Term 12, and that movie is great. And Room is also very good. She was in that, so she's a great actress. So
she's got chops.
Yeah, so it'll be cool to see her in a big movie like this.
The biggest mystery is where she goes, because this takes place before even Iron Man 1. And then she's just gone. So, and then Fury doesn't contact her until, spoilers, Thanos snaps and kills half the universe.
So how did they justify her not being around?
Yeah, and why does he just now contact her? Like, there's been other crazy things going on. So hopefully, they're really good about.
Yeah, this has been sort of a problem for Marvel for a long time. Like, basically, after the first Avengers movie, like, you had the third Iron Man movie and, like, the second Thor movie and, like, Captain America Winter Soldier. And in all of those movies, I was like, I mean, this seems like a big enough situation that the others would probably get involved. They would probably be like, hey, what's going on here? You know, but they're not even mentioned. So yeah, it's a weird thing, but you kind of have to just sort of go with it since it's like a comic book universe. So
I'm trying to think when we're going to get a trailer for this. I assumed like they did one of those like cheeky talking to brands things on Twitter. Like, remember how Robert Downey Jr. on like tweeted at Marvel like, hey, is it cool if I see Infinity War 2 weeks early or 1 week early? And they were like, yeah, just you. And he's like, no, everybody. And then that's how they announced that like it was coming out a week early. Like last week when these set photos came out, Brie Larson was tweeting at Marvel like, hey, are you ready to break the internet tomorrow? And I was like, oh, we're going to get a trailer. But I think it is just these screenshots or like production stills. But the trailer's got to be coming. It seems
when
like
is this out?
February, I want to say. It's when it's pre-Infinity War, which is in May. It's like when around when the Black Panther came out last year. It's like February release around.
Okay. Yeah, well, I guess it would have to be before the next Infinity War movie. So
yeah, which is in May.
Yeah, so I guess that makes sense. Yeah, I guess, I don't know. Maybe they hold off until like...
I assume Christmas time.
Yeah, I was going to say like the holidays, like maybe Thanksgiving or like during one of the football games.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe. I mean, whatever. I mean, it's going to be a good trailer, I'm pretty sure. So I'm excited to see. Probably 2 months, I don't know. I would say December at the latest or earliest.
Well, I guess we'll wait and see. Yeah, that seems late, but maybe you're right.
Zach, I love Google stuff, and I know you really love Google stuff. And I was talking about maybe getting the new Pixel, but I was saying that I didn't know about how into the notch I was, because there's been famously some leaks of what the new Pixel 3 XL is going to look like, and they're announcing it, or they're having their event on October 9th. But you told me that there is a conspiracy that all those leaks are fake.
Well, so this is the craziest like conspiracy theory, and I'm not going to do it justice trying to explain it, but I'll try, because it's a lot to sort of discuss. Like, so for a long time, the Pixel and Pixel 3 XL has been leaked in like photos and little videos, and the 3 XL, which is the bigger phone, has a notch, kind of like the iPhone 10, but a lot of phones are doing that now. It's not just the iPhone, I guess, but the thing about the Pixel 3 XLs is that it's like very deep. Like it cuts into the phone more than you would think it would or should or needs to. And so people are saying it's ugly and it looks really bad. It's like, and people are not into it at all. They don't want it. They don't like the design of this thing. But it's continued to leak, and people have continued to like say how terrible it looks. And then like supposedly a whole shipment of like Pixel Ultra or Pixel XLs were somehow like pulled from some truck in Russia. And so somebody put up this video, like an unboxing video of the Pixel 3 XL. But suspiciously, if you look closely on one of the inserts they pull out, it says like some weird email address that's like Google is spelled wrong or whatever. So it seems like fake. And people are finding all of these different things to make it seem like this Pixel 3 XL leak is a fake, that it's not actually the phone that they're seeing. First of all, why would there be that many, like, why would there be Pixel 3 XLs like going around in Russia right now, like way ahead of the launch of the phone? But there was also a Madden commercial where somebody was holding up what was clearly a pixel device. Like they have that design language where the top part where the camera is like a glass window basically, and the bottom part is still metal. And it could have been a Pixel 2 XL because it looks exactly the same essentially on the back. But when the camera cuts to the other side and you see what he's looking at on screen, there's no notch and there's like no bezel either. So to me, that really looked like whoever was making this commercial just did a bad job of like putting an image on, like faking an image on top of a screen. Because that happens all the time when people make graphics or videos of like, phones or whatever, and they're trying to present the best possible look at the thing. They're not going to just shoot off of a screen if they can avoid it. They're going to put something there that's like not a real image looking off of a screen. So to me, that looked fake as well. So I didn't really buy it, but people are saying, well, what is this Pixel device that doesn't have a screen? Maybe this guy had like some Google device like well ahead of launch or whatever. And there was also in the beta for Android Pie, there was a little graphic that was like one of those little instructional, like tutorial style graphics of how to do something with the new software. And the phone that they showed was, it was like a drawing of one. It wasn't like a real phone, but like it was a phone without a bezel. So people have been taking these little like hints and like running with them. And apparently there's a bunch of tech YouTubers who have been making videos, keeping up with the news on like the latest Google leaks or whatever. And they've been talking about, is the Pixel 3 XL leaks, are they real? Is that fake? What's going on here? And most of them have always been like, well, the Pixel 3 XL leaks that we've seen are ugly. It looks terrible. It's awful. And now suddenly Google is like emailing these YouTubers and asking specifically to use permission for clips from those YouTube videos where they're mocking the Pixel 3 XL's notch and that design that they have. And if you remember, during Google I/O, there was a graphic up on screen that showed a Pixel 2 XL, and they were showing the home screen, and they were talking about the new features that they were unveiling or whatever. And in the calendar widget, it said Pixel Ultra meeting at 8:00. And so people are now like, what is this Pixel Ultra? Is this thing that they're hiding, this suspicious third phone? Or, maybe the Pixel 3 XL isn't a notched phone and they're just like pulling this, the wool over our eyes, and they're going to unveil this phone with no notch and it's going to blow everybody's mind. Or maybe they're just going to have three models. They're going to have a small Pixel 3, a Pixel 3 XL with a notch, and then a Pixel Ultra that's this like more experimental, completely bezel-less, no notch phone. And so, yeah, people have been running with this crazy conspiracy theory for a long time now, and it's really heating up since I think the unveiling of their new phones is going to be on October 9th. So yeah, if this is real and they have like basically faked everybody out, and because the reason why they would ask all these YouTubers for those mockery clips basically of the fake Pixel 3 XL design would be so that they can create this montage and be like, so our phone leaked, and this is what you guys said about it, and show the montage of all the YouTubers saying, oh, look how ugly this thing is. And then they go, well, that's not our phone. This is our phone. And it's a Pixel Ultra with no bezel.
So what is your take after all this?
Just the logistics of pulling something like this off. I have a hard time believing that that's real, that the conspiracy theory is real. Like, how does a fake leak get out? I guess they could easily, if they really wanted to, they could fake something or leak something that was fake. But how do they hide? I don't know how
beneficial that is, though.
How do they hide the Pixel Ultra? Well, think of the marketing. more people are talking about the new Pixel phones than are talking about whatever Apple's got up their sleeve.
Well, that's happening tomorrow, though.
I mean, yeah, it's happening tomorrow, but like, who's talking about it?
Yeah, I mean, the only weird thing about the Apple announcement tomorrow, and probably it has to do with their new campus, but it has the word round in it. I forget what it's called, like come round to, or I don't know what it's called, but probably it's because it's taking place at their new, whatever it's called, the spaceship, the new campus that is a circle. But people are speculating. It might be an apple. That's true. A perfectly circular apple. But people are like, oh, a circle. Maybe there's like a circular iWatch now or whatever it's called. But I don't know. I can't imagine Apple is going to come out with anything world-breaking. I'm obviously going to watch it tomorrow just because I like press conferences. But yeah, I don't know. I am very interested to see what is unveiled, like how many products even they're unveiling at the Pixel event in October. So,
I mean, there have also been rumors that there would be 3 Pixel phones like coming out this year for a long time, but people just assumed that the third Pixel phone, if they did do one, would just be like more of a budget device that would be cheaper instead of like one that's more premium and like more expensive. But I don't know. It's hard to say because there's plenty of ways that you can look at this thing and say, oh, this seems fake. It doesn't seem legit. But on the other hand, this would be the craziest like marketing thing in the history of like smartphones, essentially.
Yeah, and I don't really know what purpose it would serve. Like, if you were a tech company and you were like, hey, look at this leak. Our new phone is going to suck. Isn't that crazy?
Well, yeah.
And then,
especially if they do still have the Pixel 3 XL with the notch, and then they're also doing an Ultra. Like, why would the Pixel 3 XL would just not sell, right?
Right.
So, I don't see how that benefits them. It seems like, on the one hand, I really can't believe it, but on the other hand, I love a good conspiracy theory. So I kind of want it to be true.
I want to live in a world where crazy stuff like this can happen.
I know, right? It would be way more fun if this turned out to be all true and Google did have something just crazy up their sleeves like that, and somehow they got away with hiding the actual Pixel Ultra and they just had left these breadcrumbs for everybody to follow. So that, I don't know, just to keep people talking. I don't know. I kind of don't think it's real, but it's out there and it's possible, and I guess we'll find out on October 9th.
That we will, but what can we find out about right now, Zach?
So right now, the Black Ops 4 beta is running on PS4. And I believe it's the PC beta and perhaps Xbox as well. This starts Friday.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So the Xbox One Blackout beta and PC begins on Friday, September 14th. And well, Zach, that's the early access one. The open beta on PC starts on Saturday, so it's a day later.
When you say open beta, do you mean you don't have to have pre-ordered it?
Correct.
Really?
Yes. The end date would be September 17th. Are you going to download it on PC?
I don't know. Is it on Steam?
It's on Battle.net. Yeah.
Oh.
You have to get your Battle.net, and then we'll be able to play Overwatch.
No, Zach, you've done it. You've tricked me.
You see, I worked this out with Call of Duty, with all the guys. I said, I need a big scheme to get Aaron back on Overwatch, and they were very accommodating, and we've set this all up. So you're now going to have to get your Battle.net stuff.
This is intriguing to me. So how much of the beta did you watch on PlayStation 4?
I could be playing it, but between school and Destiny, I just haven't gotten around to it. But I've watched probably an hour or two max. And
yeah, I watched about 2 hours as well.
It seems a lot like PUBG. I'll just say it's very, very PUBG. And
which I love because I love PUBG.
Yeah, well, between the two big battle royales right now, I definitely prefer PUBG to Fortnite. But this looks essentially like PUBG, but using the Call of Duty engine.
So something I didn't think I was going to be super into, but I ended up liking as I was watching Twitch people play it, was the like perk system or like the packages you pick up. So you pick up these items, and for instance, there's one called Looter, and it takes like, I want to say it takes like 5 seconds to activate. So if you're in like the heat of battle, you can't be doing this stuff because you have to like not be doing anything for 5 seconds. But basically you can activate 2 at a time. And so this Looter one, you activate it and then you can see all the loot that's around you through all the walls, which is something I would love to have in PUBG. Like if you drop into, it's been a while since I played it, so I can't remember any of the names. If you drop into like school or something and you can see like where all the ARs are, like you're going to have better time than people who are like rummaging around. And another one I saw was like a silent one where you activate it and for like 5 minutes, people can't hear your footsteps. And just like little weird things like that. The grappling hook, which has 5 uses, but like you can grappling hook through windows. Like if you knew someone was on a second floor window, instead of having to figure out like throw flashbangs in the upstairs or like go in through the bottom because you can't like get high enough, you can just shoot a grappling hook through a window in the second floor and like breach immediately and be shooting as you're grappling.
Yeah, that would be insane. I feel like those would add a lot to the experience, and it would make it that much more interesting to watch.
And also, like, you can get the little remote control car as well, and it doesn't shoot or anything, but for final parts of the matches, like I was watching Shroud and Lyric play yesterday, and it was down to them and like 3 other people, and one of them just like let the car go, and the other one like sort of protected him because you're vulnerable when you're driving the car around. And they just like searched around the final circle not the final circle, but they searched around the circle looking for them. And then they figured out where they were. And then they were able to get the drop on them. Just like weird items like that add such a new layer to a battle royale.
Yeah. And like for sure, this is going to be more polished than PUBG. Especially if you play it on Xbox, which I hear the experience is not great on Xbox.
I've always heard it's not great on Xbox. I've never really had any problems on PC when I've played it.
Yeah, I feel like it's gotten better now, but they do have that like fix PUBG campaign going.
They do, which is great and has benefited the community. Like they've added a ton of new stuff and they're taking feedback. Actually, I think maybe right now or in a little bit that Training Ground is live, which is interesting. I forgot about it. I need to check out.
Yeah, I've been saying for a long time that I think the PUBG killer is gonna come from either whoever makes Call of Duty or Battlefield, and it's happening. So we're gonna find out whether that's true or not. I think you've brought up good points about how people already own PUBG and it's like $30.
Sometimes it's $20.
Yeah, and Call of Duty is not going to separate out this game mode and sell it solo for like $30 because they're not that smart. But yeah, so you were saying you probably wouldn't pay $60 to buy Call of Duty just to play Blackout.
Like, I would never touch regular Call of Duty multiplayer or zombies because neither of those things are interesting to me. So I'm basically going to pay $60 for a third of a game. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's worth it for me.
Yeah. I mean, I've been saying for years that it would be smart of Call of Duty, just as a franchise, to like separate their game modes and basically sell a PvP mode for like $30 and then like a story for $30 because there are also people who only played the story and they didn't touch the multiplayer. Like that's, I'm sure, a niche audience when it comes to Call of Duty, but they existed. And So, like, for sure, they want, the $60 sale, so they're not going to do that. But I don't know. I just feel like they might also appeal to people like you who know they're not going to play the other game modes, but they're not going to pay, a full price for a game that they're only going to play a third of.
When is this coming out?
October 12th.
I think I don't know, man, like, Battle Royale is such a new thing. We're still really in the infancy of it. If it's like really taking off and there's community outcry, I wonder if by Christmas they're like, hey, guess what? We know this already came out in October, but if you're looking to jump in, Blackout is available standalone for Christmas. That could be something.
There is a precedent for that, actually. So remember when Modern Warfare Remastered came out and it was an exclusive for people who bought the like deluxe edition of whatever that year's Call of Duty.
Oh yeah, people were mad about that.
Yeah, people were very angry about that, and because they didn't want the new Call of Duty game, they just wanted Modern Warfare Remastered. I was among those people, and it took them a while, but they eventually did release like standalone Modern Warfare Remastered for like $30-$40. So it could happen, but I don't know. I feel like if it does happen, it won't happen for a while. I think they would be smart to do it, but who knows?
Regardless, I'm going to watch a ton of it, especially the PC version of it. And who knows? Like, who knows what's going to happen in December? But if it comes down and they're like, hey, guess what? You can get Blackout for like $40 even. I might pick it up depending on a number of factors. But definitely I'm going to watch a bunch of it. Because, like, Battle Royale, one of the reasons it's so popular is just because it's infinitely watchable. Yeah,
it can be very fun to watch, especially if you have like an interesting streamer. I think it's best served in squads. Like solo Battle Royale isn't as interesting to me, but I'm also not a huge fan of Battle Royales, but...
Did you check out that Battlefield 5 beta over the weekend?
I played it very, very briefly. It's I mean, the movement and shooting felt good. Now, I am not accustomed to playing it on PC, which is where I did play it. I've played Battlefield for years on console. So this is, I guess I played some Battlefield 1 on PC, but not very much. So it was sort of an adjustment to get a feel for like moving and shooting and everything with a mouse and keyboard versus a controller. But I mean, it felt good. I think I did capture some gameplay, so maybe I can get through some of that and maybe we'll put up a video with it. But yeah, I think there's a lot of sort of controversy and fan like backlash about Battlefield 5 right now. So, and they pushed it back. I don't know if it's because they had more to do for the game or not, but the thing that I think it's where it might struggle is that they've sort of brought in some of the like Battlefront 2 like gameplay elements that people did not like.
Like what?
Like I think you have to like earn credits and like buy your unlocks and stuff like that. People don't really like that. They want to have like a progression system where it feels like they're earning stuff. They're not like needing to use credits to like buy stuff.
Can you buy the credits with real money?
That I don't know. But if that is the case, then I feel like they know better than that by now. Like they were talking about, I think the big thing at E3 when they unveiled this game was like no pay to win. There's no loot boxes. Like they said you're not going to be buying like weapons and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's just maybe the way you're unlocking stuff is not as satisfying as it once was in Battlefield. So to me, the like minute-to-minute gameplay of it felt pretty good still. So I don't know. I'm still pretty interested to check out the full release, but I don't know. I feel like it's not going to get maybe as great reviews as some of the past ones have gotten, and I'm not sure why.
And they didn't put out anything about their Battle Royale, right?
No, not that I'm aware of. I feel like that's still forthcoming. They'll probably do it in the next few weeks. I mean, they pushed it back, but not that far. It's in mid-November, I want to say now.
Okay.
So I think they pushed it back by exactly a month. I guess that'll be tough though. If they wait around too long to get the beta for that out, they're getting into Black Ops 4 and Red Dead Redemption territory. So
which is going to be blood in the water kind of thing.
Yeah.
Everyone is going to play Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah, exactly. So they're probably going to want to get it out before those titles start dropping. So
before we talk about Destiny, because we're going to talk about Destiny in a second, what do you think the game of the year is going to be? Because I feel like there's like 5 or 6 contenders this year.
What are your contenders?
God of War, Spider-Man, Red Dead Redemption. What were some other ones? I feel like a ton of stuff came out or is coming out.
Yeah, there is a lot of stuff coming out. Like Super Smash Brothers will be out before the end of the year.
Yes. Smash Brothers is going to be a big one.
There's a new Pokemon game.
Yeah. Oh, it's not a true Pokemon game. It's like the Pokemon Go version. The real Pokemon RPG is coming out next year.
That's true.
But Smash is a really good point as well. I feel like the top 3... Well, there's Smash. I feel like the top 3, everyone, when God of War came out, was like, this is the game of the year. But now everyone's saying that about Spider-Man. And
remember, earlier this year, there was Monster Hunter World and like Dragon Ball FighterZ and some other games that I can't think of. Those came out January, February, so like we forget about those rather quickly. Yeah. But God of War and Spider-Man and Red Dead Redemption are easily the top 3.
I mean, we don't know anything about Red Dead Redemption. It just looks amazing, but I assume it's going to blow everybody away.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one I think everybody's waiting on to make a definitive statement about such and such a game being game of the year. But I think a lot of people are right now seriously considering Spider-Man and God of War.
Remains to be seen. We'll definitely do some...
Both PlayStation exclusives, by the way.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good time to have a PlayStation. Zach, let's talk about Forsaken.
Yes, let's talk about Forsaken. So, how do you want to go about covering this DLC?
All right, so first, I guess let's talk about the story. What were your overall impressions once we have completed... the story? We've started exploring very briefly the Dreaming City, which is the end game area, but and it seems as though there's going to be more to the story, but the overall campaign we have completed. So what were your thoughts on that?
I mean, I was surprised that there were 2 explorable spaces. I feel, isn't that usually they give you one new place to explore, and they gave you the Tangled Shores and the Dreaming City, and the Dreaming City's big.
It is. It's a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. But as far as the story goes, I mean, it's all right. It's better than like some of the stuff they've had in the past, but I don't know. I think there were some missteps as well. What was your impression?
I agree that it was better. I mean, there wasn't a time where I like made a face ever when I was playing it. Like there was a lot of times in Vanilla Destiny 2 where I was just like, come on, when someone would say something, specifically your ghost or somebody talking to you. But there's a much more serious tone to this one. And I was worried that they were going to, like, the very end of the DLC was going to be like, hey, guess what? Cade's back. But they didn't do that. They stuck to their guns.
Yeah, well, we talked briefly about this while we were playing the other day. I still think Cade will come back at some point. Like
Cade 7?
Yeah, as Cade 7. I think they've sort of they've been dropping hints about how, remember the what are the machine race?
Exos?
Yeah, the Exos, when they die, they can be reborn. They keep the same name, but they add a number to the end of it. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so like it's not unprecedented that an Exo could come back. So I think like down the line when there's another DLC like that they're going to drop, how crazy would it be if they're like, you know, K7 is back, you know?
Or what if it's like Search for Spock, where you hear rumors of like, oh, there's a crazy Exo doing stuff, and you have to seek out Cade, and maybe he like doesn't remember stuff, so you have to remind him about his past.
Well, and I was also talking to you about this. There are like, maybe we should. Are we going to do spoilers?
Let's do it.
Let's go full spoilers. So if you have not finished the Destiny 2 Forsaken DLC, you can probably go ahead and tune out at this point. Although it's been out for a week, so you're probably good. Like, you've probably finished it. So anyway, there is a mission where you get like a note from Cade, and he says something about how he doesn't want you to like remind him of his like previous lives, basically. Like, he doesn't want to have those memories. So anyway, that's another sort of hint I feel like they were dropping, that, you know, he could come back as Cade 7 and he'll probably still not want you to remind him of everything he did as Cade 6 or whatever in his previous life. But
what did you think of the Baron fights?
The Baron fights were interesting. Some of them were pretty varied. Like, there was the guy who was on the pike. So
yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, that one was cool. That one was pretty varied. And then there was one where I forget if it was like the Trickster. There was like 3 of them that were named something that was akin to Trickster or like Mindbender.
The Mindbender.
Yeah. I think that guy was interesting because you sort of went in and out of this other realm, basically.
Yeah, that was very cool.
So yeah, they got fairly creative with some of those boss fights.
You know what I heard, actually? So when you do the Mindbender fight, apparently before you leave the Ascendant Realm or wherever you are, you can go and find a key and you pick it up and then you leave, and then there's a thing that requires a key in that room, and then you can unlock it. It just gives you like some gear. But I didn't read about that until after the fact. So I wonder if these Baron fights are going to be repeatable.
Yeah, that's a good question. I know they show up as adventures, or at least most of them do. Mm-hmm. And the adventures have been repeatable in the past, so maybe they will be. I kind of hope they are, because I wouldn't mind playing them again without necessarily playing a different character to get through all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the Baron fights, most of them were pretty varied. I feel like I had gotten to the point where I was high enough power level where they weren't necessarily a crazy challenge for me. What about you?
I did not have a lot of trouble with them until I got to the Hangman, because I was only like 2 light above the recommended for that one, because I had been kind of like leveling just like you with the thing. And so I was still above the light level, but I only had, my highest light level weapons were a sidearm and a submachine gun.
Yeah.
So, and you need to like be far away from him because he will slam that thing down on you. So for that reason, that fight was very difficult for me. And I also, there was a part of the final one when you actually get to the Dreaming City with the Fanatic. I find that part to be difficult just because you have to jump around so much. But overall, I didn't find any of them to be terribly difficult, and I found the mechanics to be pretty fun.
Yeah, I almost thought some of them would be a little bit more mechanic heavy than they were, but yeah, I found them to be pretty fun. I liked the design of most of them. I thought they were fairly uniquely designed, but I was surprised that those unique designs didn't lead to more interesting sort of mechanics. Like, that's one of the things they always strive for, like in their strikes, to make the boss fights more interesting than just like, you know, you standing there and shooting like this bullet sponge until his health bar runs out.
Well, let's talk about that. They released maybe the best strike I've ever played.
Yeah, that strike is fantastic. The
Warden of Nothing is very cool, and I guess we shouldn't spoil this if you haven't played it yet, but it takes you back to some stuff you might remember from Destiny 1.
Yeah, I loved the way they did that. They definitely, it gets you back to a familiar place, and then there's a twist to it. But yeah, but everything leading up to that was very cool as well, because you're sort of in this like subway system, so you have to like watch out for these subway cars. And I die at least a couple of times every time trying to get through there.
And something else we should say that has made strikes more fun to run is they have increased the amount of damage you do in relation to your light. If you're above, previous to this, I think like once you became above a certain light level of whatever the activity was, you would only do like 10% more damage or something to everyone in the mission, even though you were maybe like 20% higher light than they were. But they've increased that cap to 35%. So if you're playing regular strikes and you get to the boss, you just melt the boss, which is very satisfying and makes me want to run more strikes.
It's true. You definitely, like, we've played a couple of strikes just to get, like, our weekly strike playlist powerful reward. And, yeah, you can really, like, drain the health bar of the strike boss.
It feels good.
Very, very quickly. It does.
Like, I used to not do strikes because I would be like, ugh, this is going to take like 15 minutes. And like, if I'm playing with two random people, it could be that we just keep dying at the final boss. And then like one of them leaves and we have to wait for another person. That's not a problem anymore. You feel powerful. You feel good when you're taking out these bosses.
Well, so here's the question then. Did they overcompensate? Is it too easy now?
I don't think so. I think it's still fun.
Yeah, I like the change as well. I'm on board with the strike bosses going down faster than they have in the past. Yeah. So I think later on in the story, since we're doing spoilers, I had a problem with sort of the climax of the thing. So you want revenge on Uldren because he killed Cade. Now, first of all, I should say it starts off at the Prison of Elders, right? Because Uldren has like attacked it, I guess, and freed a bunch of people. So that's like an interesting thing that's going on in the universe now is you can talk to that spider guy and he will sort of give you these bounties to go track down these like wanted people or enemies that were previously locked up in the Prison of Elders, but now they're free because of that. So I think that's an interesting like change to the world state right now.
I agree.
But anyway, it wasn't clear to me what he was doing there.
So I think Petra talks about it briefly. She's like, he showed back up, but he was talking to himself. He said he could hear the queen. And so she just put him in the Prison of Elders to deal with it later, to like figure out, because he was obviously tainted by something. So Petra is the one that put him in there in the deepest, darkest part of the Prison of Elders.
Yeah, and it wasn't necessarily clear to me what he was tainted by or how he even survived the whole like Taken War thing.
Yeah. Well, it seems to me that like the Ascendant realm, because like when you used to go into that crazy shadow like Lord of the Rings realm, it was always because you were like, oh, it's taken or whatever. But now we're finding out that there's like this ascendant part of it as well. So when he unlocked that thing at the end, he needed a shard of the Traveler, but he also needed an aspect of darkness, which came out of his eyes. So now we're seeing that there's this other realm that's not necessarily taken, like not necessarily dark or light. It's a combination of the two. It's ascendant.
So here's my thing. Like, that's all fascinating. I want it to be in the game. You know, like I want them to talk about this stuff and explain it and like do the show don't tell thing, you know, like I shouldn't have to go read a codec entry or about it or like watch some lore video later on. Like
they might do that later on in the Dreaming City. It seems like there's some storytelling to be told as yet in the Dreaming City.
I'm sure there is. I just like, it's kind of one of those things where like your story should also sort of hold up on its own. Like I shouldn't have to wait for the next portion of your story to come out for this one to make sense. Like you can hold back some details and even like leave a cliffhanger there, but like it should be clear like what's happening. And I didn't think it always was. But anyway, my problem with the climax of the game was that you want to kill Uldren because he killed Cade. And when you go to actually do the boss fight to kill Uldren, this giant random creature pops out that looks like a servitor that is maybe like crossbred with like a hive or something. And
he looked like a Keiko demon to me from Doom.
Oh yeah, that's true. Anyway, then it eats Uldren. It like swallows him whole, and then you fight this random creature that pops up out of nowhere, and that's essentially the final boss fight of the game. Like, there's sort of a rule in like movies and TV, like you don't introduce a new character during the climax of your story.
Well, technically, so my interpretation of that was like the Marasov in his mind the entire time was this like...
I agree with you. That's exactly what it was. He thinks he's seeing Marasov. That was clear enough to me that he was sort of hallucinating Marasov, and it was sort of the indoctrination theory, you know.
Exactly. Yeah, you talked about that. Yeah, when we were playing, you were like, "Oh yeah, what if the final boss was
a Reaper?"
The Harbinger.
Yeah, Harbinger has crossed over into from Mass Effect into Destiny, and he.
What an insane turn of events that would be.
I would kind of love it actually, but yeah, that anyway, it was essentially that. It was indoctrination, and so he's been fooled and he's been used by this creature. But the thing is, they need to like set that up. Like there needs to be a breadcrumb trail. Like this can't just like blindside us out of nowhere at the very end of the thing. Like you need to build up to it. Like, I don't know. I can't think of a good example of like why this seems so out of the blue and like bad storytelling to me, but
I saw a meme a while ago on the internet talking about Dark Souls. And the meme went something to the effect of like, you're in trouble when the boss isn't like a giant monster. It's like the size of you, basically, which is kind of true. And so I had that in mind when I was playing this, and I was like, man, this final boss fight isn't going to be a giant monster. It's going to be Uldren.
Yeah, like how interesting could that have been?
Like, how's that going to work? It's going to be like being in Crucible almost. Like, what is that going to be like?
And in my mind, I was waiting for like, you remember that first sort of boss fight in God of War where you're fighting that one dude, that Norse dude?
The stranger.
Yeah, and like he's just hitting you and punching you around. Like I know Uldren is technically not a god, like he doesn't have like crazy powers, so that was probably the reason why they had to come up with something else. But the way it's done, because they didn't really effectively set this up, it sort of feels like they wrote themselves into a corner and they're like, Uldren's not, a crazy god. Like, how are we our superpowered guardians are going to kill him in one shot and that'll be it. Like, we have to think of something more interesting. And that's how it read to me as I was playing it. But yeah, I think it would have been interesting for them to have come up with a different sort of way of doing that. Especially since we know so little about this Ascendant Realm that you're talking about. Like, maybe he came up with some sort of power from that.
I mean, yeah, I think you definitely get to learn more about the Ascendant Realm in the Dreaming City, which I'm excited to do, but we are too low light level to do that yet.
Yeah, and I feel like the Dreaming City is going to be this sort of ever-changing thing over the coming months. So, like, we're going to see a lot more and be able to explore more of it and learn a lot more about what's going on there. It's just sort of a shame that it's really not touched on very much in this DLC. And the other thing I thought was disappointing was that you don't really get a choice, or you don't really get to shoot. So like your voice, right? Well, we were all excited when we did our last podcast about, that trailer. Our voice is back. We're going to be able to talk again. He says 2 lines basically throughout the entire thing.
Yes, that's true.
And the final scene there, he's again suspiciously silent and doesn't really say anything. And it's sort of you and Petra holding your guns on Uldren, and then it just cuts to black, and maybe we shot them, maybe Petra did, I don't know.
Yeah, do you think maybe neither of them shot him?
Well, I mean, I guess there was a gunshot of some sort. Like these are.
Yeah, but they could totally pull that thing where it cuts back and you hear the gunshot, and then you like close up to his face and his eyes are scrunched up, and then he opens his face, like he opens his eyes and it pulls out, and they've just shot like right next to him, you know?
Yeah, but would you be disappointed to find out like months later that, oh, that scene that we just sort of cut away from, this important detail we just didn't give you? Like, wouldn't it have been way more interesting if it had been like, do you shoot Uldren or not? And then you have the choice to either pull the trigger and kill him right there on the spot, or you cannot do it and then maybe Petra does it, or, you know, one way or another, maybe the outcome is the same, but you at least had a choice in the matter.
Yeah, I mean, that fragments the player base, though, where like different things have to be different for different people.
Well, it doesn't necessarily, because you're not changing the world state. You're just sort of, either you as a personal guardian took some sort of agency in this universe, and you took the moral high ground, or you got your vengeance. And it doesn't really affect anything necessarily that comes after that.
To me, though, that feels like less agency, because that gives you a choice, but then your choice doesn't matter. Kind of like those things you see in Mass Effect where people are always getting upset, where it's like somebody says like, I don't know what your problem is. And then you have the choice to say like, I don't want any trouble, or you're done. And you select, I don't want any trouble, but he says like, I don't want any trouble, but you're gonna get it. Like, you don't have a choice, really. So I don't know. I'm not sure what I would have wanted.
Well,
like what my
this
ideal
is different from that. The reason why I would prefer that is because, at least like from my own like personal experience with the game and the story and the characters, like I know what choice I made. So then my sort of role playing experience in this universe has had some sort of agency, right? And I mean,
you could still think that, though.
It doesn't necessarily. Well, I mean, we don't know. Like, I didn't actually get to make a choice in that instance.
I think they left it that way
of it.
I think they sort of hid it so that anyone could think what they wanted.
Yeah, but I feel like there's a better way to do that. I guess it depends on how you look at it, but I don't know. I was very kind of disappointed with the way the climax of the story played out. And like, we still know basically nothing about that final creature that showed up. Like, we don't know who it is or
Riven.
What. Oh, that's right. It's Riven, but we don't know like what its motivation is. What does it want? Where did it come from? Like, what was it using Uldren for?
I liked that the health bar was on the bottom of the screen. I thought that was cool.
Was it? I don't even remember. Anyway, that's sort of my take on the story, but I will say literally everything else about this DLC has been amazing. The question now becomes, and I'm going to put you on the spot, is this worth buying? Like, should people come back to Destiny?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Or like, even though we don't necessarily know what the end game is necessarily like?
I mean, we have just begun the end game, but I feel like there is enough of a climb. Like, the soft cap is 500 and you get there quickly, and the hard cap is 600, so that's 100 levels, and it seems as though there's a ton of ways to get powerful gear, and the Dreaming City has just opened up to us, and I'm still very excited to explore that and learn all about it. There's like, I haven't gotten a single exotic because they've slowed that progression down. So I'm interested to get some exotics, and the new subclasses are super fun. I would say 100%. If you are on the fence, like, Forsaken is definitely worth jumping back in.
Well, and we should say, you can, at least for I think you can get it for free still on PS4. It's all September, right? But yeah, if you haven't, you're curious about it, you can just like hop back in, and you've got the 2.0 update, you've got the weapon slot changes, and the random rolls are back, and you'll still get some of those like free events and like the different things that are happening. So I feel like once you start playing some of that, just to get a feel for how things have changed, you're probably going to want to go ahead and play Forsaken. But yeah, I'm kind of with you. I think a lot of people are kind of gun shy a little bit just because like people were sort of over the moon for Vanilla Destiny 2 when it initially came out, but like a month later everybody was like, uh-oh, this is not going to have the legs that we thought it was going to. I think they've kind of corrected that.
I agree. They've definitely slowed progression but kept it satisfying so that it takes longer to do things, so you keep having a reason to come back, but it's also not like you don't feel like you're hitting a wall like every week.
Yeah, well, and we should say like the way you keep sort of progressing your power level after you hit that soft cap, now it's actually pretty good because there's so many different activities that reward you with powerful rewards. It's not like, well, I'll log in on Tuesday and I will play like a round of Crucible and I'll run a strike and I'll do the Nightfall and then I'm done for the week and I don't need to touch this again. Because there's so many more activities that you can do. You can do Gambit as well, which by the way, Gambit is fantastic. I love Gambit.
It's so fun. It's so good.
It is so very good. And yeah, everybody has bounties, so you can pick up bounties from literally everybody. And so there's a lot of ways to get powerful rewards now. There's like the daily powerful reward. There's the weekly powerful reward. And yeah, it just feels like there's a lot more strikes to do as well. Like strikes were not interesting to play in the past, but they are now.
And again, they're fun to play because you can just destroy the final boss. And like what would take usually like 10 minutes now takes like 3 minutes, which is great.
Yeah, and you have new supers to try out on them.
Yeah, and all the supers are great. Like, I have just unlocked my Blade Barrage on my Solar Hunter, and it is so fun. It also is great for eliminating invaders in Gambit because you just have to be close to the person, and you have these, like, homing missiles that come at you. It's great.
Yeah, and I have found Chaos Reach to be a very good, like, boss damaging thing. Like it
looks amazing when you use it.
It's very fun. And I played I think some strikes the other day where I was able to get it so that I had a lot of like ads lined up and a boss behind them, and I was able to basically wipe out the entire area with it. You don't move a lot with it when you cast it, but it does a lot of damage.
We'll have plenty more to talk about with Forsaken next week because we'll be playing it all this week, and maybe we'll have some more Dreaming City stuff. But should we get to what we're playing / watching?
I mean, I'm just playing Destiny 2 right now. I probably should try out the Blackout beta, but I don't know. I've been so hooked on Destiny that I haven't touched it yet.
Me too. I have been watching one of my favorite Twitch streamers, a guy named Vinesauce, play The Messenger, because it's like a PC Switch only title right now. I don't know that it's coming out for anything else. But the gimmick, have you heard about The Messenger?
I have heard it, but I can't off the top of my head think of what this game is.
It starts out as an 8-bit like Ninja Gaiden kind of thing where you're running around, and it's a super tight platformer, and then it becomes a Metroidvania 16-bit game when you like go into the future. And then it goes into even more and does crazy stuff. But it's beautiful. All the music is great. The writing style I'm kind of not into because it's like very fourth wall breaking and like cheeky. But the combat looks super fun, and just the visuals are beautiful. I just got to the part where he gets to be 16-bit, and it's gorgeous. But I'm not playing that. I'm just watching it. I'm just playing Destiny. But one thing I wanted to mention before we wrap up. This Friday, the 14th, is a big deal because BoJack Horseman and the second season of what is that show? American Vandal.
Yeah, American Vandal.
The second season of American Vandal and the like fifth or sixth season of BoJack come out on Friday, and both of those are super good. And I am really excited to watch American Vandal because the first season was so compelling.
It was very, very good. Like, I'm kind of jealous because I let my Netflix subscription go months ago, and this is the first thing that's came out on Netflix that I've really been like, I might need to resubscribe for a little bit just to be able to watch it. Because yeah, that first season of American Vandal is so good. If you haven't watched it, It's basically sort of a mockumentary of like in the vein of Making a Murderer. But it like follows these high school kids and they're like trying to solve a crime. And they're making a documentary about their investigation. And it's very funny and it's very engrossing. And once you start it, you like, I think I marathoned the entire season in one night because I couldn't stop watching it.
I did too. It's so good. They do so many interesting things with like, you can tell they understand youth culture because there's that whole episode where they recreate a party and they're using like Snapchats and other stuff. And it felt very like modern and like smart. Another interesting aspect of it is they start releasing episodes of their documentary in the documentary. So like it gets very meta because like halfway through the season, people start watching the first episode because it's like a real thing because they're making it for their class. And so it adds this whole other level to it that's very interesting.
Yeah, it like the show really sort of evolves like halfway through once the show within a show like is released and suddenly the people who are making it are kind of become like locally famous and like they have to deal with all of that, and it sort of really amps up the tension of the show a little bit more. So yeah, I highly recommend checking out that first season. And yeah, the second season comes out Friday. I need to find a way to be able to watch this. So
I think that wraps it up for this week, right?
Yeah.
That's the sound that happens when the show's over.
It's also my phone, but it could be. It could be the notification that it's time to wrap up the show. Yeah, join us next week. We will probably be talking more Destiny unless there's other crazy things happening. Follow us on Twitter. You'll get notified of when our episodes go up. And like and subscribe on YouTube, where the podcast is also being hosted if you're not listening on like Podbean or Pocket Cast or iTunes or Google Play. You got any wisdom for the listeners?
Turkey chili is very easy to make and it lasts for days and you can just freeze it and reheat it and live on it for like a week.
Well, you heard it here first. That's very good advice. We'll see you next time.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.